Hello and welcome to Merlin's Brick News, the weekly show on all things brick building, where we talk about set announcements and updates from all the major brands, as well as new entries to the LEGO Ideas Programm. Information is presented as always by setdb.org, the best source for set information on the internet. Alright, let's get started. We have a ton of interesting new sets. As always in alphabetical order, we will start with BlueBrixx. BlueBrixx, that the brand that has the Star Trek license over here in Europe, they have continued to announce a couple of new sets for the third wave of Star Trek sets. I talked about this already last week, so they kind of split this wave into multiple announcement rounds, if you will, and now we are talking about the large sets, which of course a lot of folks are looking forward to. And we are going to start with the USS Defiant NX74205. That is at BlueBrixx the set 104965, 2,856 pieces. Here we go. It is a Defiant, and I am so looking forward to the set. I'm a big fan of DS9, and of course the Defiant is a beloved ship and a beloved character in that series, or has been, I should rather say. I mean, we're talking about mid-end 90s, but nevertheless, I think they did a pretty good job here on the Defiant. Nice prints here on the side, on both on the warp drives, but also of course the USS Defiant that is printed. On the pieces on top, you have the NX74205 signature in the front next to the deflector array. And yeah, I mean, it's a Defiant. To be honest, the only thing I'm not sure if I like it around this design is the stand. I think this is extremely simple, just on 4 black Technic bars. I'm not 1% sure if I like this one, but next to that, I think they did an amazing job on this piece. And yeah, 2,000... more than 2,800 pieces. I think this one is going to be a lot of fun. Then we also have now in large scale the USS Voyager, the NCC 74656, that is at BlueBrixx the number 104966, 2,443 pieces. Great one as well. To be honest, I'm not 1% sure if I'm the biggest fan of the design. I mean, in general, I do like if you can still see that, you know, this is brick built, but this one, of course, I assume it was pretty complicated to make this one. The section here, especially in the front, I guess it was quite complicated to do this with slopes, especially due to the asymmetric design of that ship, and especially in the front. So I guess that was a bit problematic to do this with slope. So it's quite a rough model, if you will. I mean, I think it has a lot of similarities. Like, it looks like Star Trek meets Minecraft. This is a little bit, which is okay, you know, it's a brick built design. But I think this is one of the sets, maybe where it's the most obvious that bricks as a design element have their limits, and you can see this here. Anyhow, I do like the stand, and generally I do like the approach. I mean, I think they've done a great job here, but nevertheless, it is brick built, and you can see this here a lot, and especially in comparison to the next set, the Delta Flyer, also from the Voyager series, the 104967, and here, of course, you have a design that is much cleaner. It's also brick built, but I think you can see here that the system works a lot better. This one at least has 1,714 pieces. Again, a lot of prints. Delta Flyer, it's the number, the 656. On the side and on the front. I'm not 1% sure if I like the window. So the window is also brick built, i.e. it's not just made out of, I don't know, trans clear panels or something, which you would usually do for windows, but it's actually a trans black, I guess, plate. And then you have a lot of tiles on top to get the specific shape that the Delta Flyer has, if you know the original one from the series. But obviously that means you can't look into the inside. It's close to impossible. I think it's trans, so if you put lights inside, you could still have a nice look. But I think this way it's close to impossible to look into the inside. But nevertheless, as far as I can tell, you can see hinges here on top. You should be able to open it. So from that point of view, it's great. I assume this one is minifigure scale, the same way as the Runabout has been, the Rio Grande. So from that point of view, I think, yeah, it's ready for minifigures, but obviously BlueBrixx does not sell any minifigures, and in general, Star Trek minifigures are a bit hard to come by. So anyhow, I think this is an amazing piece. I do intend to build at least the Defiant in this one. Voyager, let's see, I'm not 1% sure. Then we have another announcement from BlueBrixx, what they call a British compact car. This is obviously an Austin Mini, but usually BlueBrixx does not have licenses for all the car brands, so that's why they just call it the British compact car. We are talking about the 105 608 1195 pieces. It's 26 centimeters in length. 19 high, obviously, because you have the chair on top, and 14.5 width. Obviously, I mean, if you look at the colors and the chair, it's clear we are talking about the car from the very famous British sitcom Mr. Bean, created by Rowan Atkinson, who is also the main actor, and Richard Curtis, produced by Tiger Aspect. And obviously this, I mean, a lot of people still have these scene, are reminded of the scene, obviously, with the chair on top. It's great. It's a sitcom from the early 90s, so if you have never seen it, I can highly recommend it. And I think building this car and at the same time watching maybe in parallel Mr. Bean could be a great experience. I'm really looking forward to this one. I always loved this car. Friends of mine had some of those. I remember back in the 90s. Yeah, these were just amazing cars, very iconic back in the day. Maybe we should mention that the Mini was built between 1959 and 2000, so for 41 years, and it was almost not changed. I remember the very last ones that were built before BMW took over and created the new Mini, which quite frankly doesn't have... The only thing they have in common with this one here, I would say, is the brand. But nevertheless, they built 5.38 million of these cars, and it was just a miracle how much space they could have in this car. They use a lot of interesting tech that I think was copied by other cars in after that. So it was a result out of the fuel shortage from 1956 after the Suez Crisis. So it has a lot of interesting tech, like a space-saving transverse engine in the beginning, in the front. They have this very interesting design of the transmission being part of the engine. So basically the transmission doesn't have its own enclosure. It's in the engine oil, which, if I recall correctly, friends of mine who had these cars, the transmission was usually a big issue with these things. But nevertheless, I think it's an amazing car, an amazing model, and I'm really looking forward to this one. And I do intend to build it as well. What I do not intend to build is the modern treehouse, the 105 153. So this is a BlueBrixx Pro set. Usually these are made by Xingbao for BlueBrixx. That's the difference between BlueBrixx, regular BlueBrixx sets and BlueBrixx Pro. And this one has 4,429 pieces. Personally, I must say I'm not the biggest fan. First of all, the tree design is very similar to the LEGO Ideas set. Obviously, then the entire housing, because it's a modern tree house, is completely different. It's more modern design, and so in theory, it could be an interesting to combine this one with the Lego set, simply because the building techniques of the tree are so similar, right? And as a result, you can use them very well together. Obviously, there are other big tree houses as well. Kada has one, Mold King has one, but they are very different from the design perspective. This one is very similar. Of course, it is on a base plate, so it looks like a standard 32 by 32 base plate. So that is, of course, different than the LEGO Ideas set, but again, the tree tech is very similar, and as a result, of course, I guess they make quite a nice display next to each other. So for instance, you might say, hey, this is the house where the family is actually living, and then you have the Lego tree house, more like the Airbnb kind of rental on the size, because it is ridiculously small, right? If you look into it, this is something where people could live, I guess, the entire year, while the Lego is more like, okay, this is like a small rental, something for your holidays or something like that, for your weekends. Anyhow, in general, I would say, for my personal taste, I do prefer the Lego one, but nevertheless, I think it is a nice addition. Then we have the Empire State Building, finally, the 105171, 3,245 pieces. So I do not have a scale for this one. Personally, I assume it's 1 to 500. Simply due to the matter of the fact that usually all the skyscrapers of BlueBrixx have been like this in the past, like the Willis Tower, for instance, or the Chrysler Building that they have in announcement. By the way, I should mention everything I've been talking about so far is just announcements, right? They are not available yet. That's actually also why I do not have prices or can't talk about pricing. Anyhow, Empire State Building, it's a 102-story Art Deco skyscraper, I guess very well known in Midtown Manhattan. It's what I personally still believe, if you look at the facts about this building, the most astonishing one is that it was built between March 1930 and April 1931. So they just need a little bit more than a year. And I think the first people moved in 1 month thereafter in May. So it's kind of ridiculous how fast they were able to build it back in the day. But anyhow, it is based, of course, around Empire State, which is, I think, a nickname for the state of New York. It is 443 meters high to the tip. That includes the antenna, of course, and to the roof, it's 381 meters, which is 1,250 feet. So, personally, I'm not 100% sure around the scale. BlueBrixx has not given us any information on this, but I do assume it's the same scale. I think next to Sears Tower / Willis Tower and some of the other skyscrapers they already have done and want to do, I think this will be an awesome piece. I definitely intend to build it. With that, we are through with BlueBrixx, so let's move on to Cobi. So we have the Cobi Hurtigruten coastal ship, an 8-in-1 model. We are talking about the 1333, 368 pieces only. So as far as I can tell, I guess this is mostly built for tourists originally, not so much, I guess, for us, like brick enthusiasts, because it has not many pieces. I guess it has a lot of very large pieces in there to come to that size, because it is like 42 centimeters long, 14 height, I think, width, I do not know. I guess this is something, that is usually sold to tourists, etc. Hurtigruten, for those of you who don't know, this is like a coastal ship line in Norway, very famous, And so 8-in-1 actually means that you have different printed pieces for the different names of the ship. So for all 8 different names, like Nordkapp, Nordis, Polaris, Nord, Trollfjord, Widget with Kang Harald, whatever. Kang Harald, I guess that's the king, right? Anyhow, I think it's usually something that tourists buy, but nevertheless, I mean, if you're interested in ships, this is a small one. I think it looks quite nice, and it could also be a nice present, right? So if you have folks in the family who don't understand your hobby, this might be a good present actually to convince them how great it could be to build bricks. Anyhow, let's move on. Then I have a set where I do not have precise data yet. It's just an announcement on Instagram on Cobi's account. We are talking about the 5829. It's an F-35 Lockheed Martin Lightning, and I guess that is amazing. I think it is the A model, I guess, or maybe the B model. I'm not 100% sure. So Lockheed Martin F-35, I guess it's very well known to a lot of folks, produced since 2006. At this time, more than 840 of them have been made. There are 3 different versions usually, so I'm not 100% sure which one this one is. There's the conventional takeoff and landing version, that's the F-35A. Then there is the short takeoff and vertical landing version, F-35B, and the carrier-based one, F-35C. It's currently used by air forces of the US, obviously, Australia, Israel, Italy, Japan, Norway, and the Netherlands. And to my knowledge, Germany is going to buy a couple of those as well. So, very famously known modern fighter jet. And Cobi is now has announced that they want to make one. It's to be expected by end of October. And I'm really looking forward to this model as well. With that, we are coming to Funhole. And Funhole, I talked about them last week, where they announced this great castle that I'm really looking forward to. And, immediately they are coming up with the next one. So the F9006, the steampunk ore train, $71.39 US. As always, I have also a discount code if you're interested on Merlin. So this one is actually available. Everything I've talked about so far were just announcements from Cobi and BlueBrixx. This one is actually available. And yeah, I think it's a really beautiful model. As always, Funhole includes a lighting kit. So these are lighting kits. I mean, this is the same company that is doing the BrixMax and Lighttailing lighting kit brands for LEGO sets. So this system is compatible. So you can directly, of course, put it into the set like it is shown here. But of course, if you're just saying, no, I don't need the lighting here, but then you have the lighting kit for you, right? Lighting kits usually are in this magnitude and size, usually cost around, I don't know, something like $30 US. So you have this included in the set. Of course, this needs to be kept in mind. I do not have a piece count yet. My guess is below thousands, but yeah, it should be like more than somewhere between 500 and 1,000 pieces would be my guess. But you have the lighting kit included as well. And again, the system, I've tried this myself, so I have already combined BrixMax, a kit that I had in the Funhole set, and even Light My Bricks, which is from a completely different company, and they all work together quite well, actually. So this is something to be kept in mind. The train itself, I think it's quite beautiful. I think there's not so much steampunk in it. Yes, it is, you know, it has a certain fantastic degree. Obviously, you have this ore stuff on top of the wagon. So the wagon looks like a regular, you know, or the coat, like a regular passenger coat. And then you have the ore stuff, crystals, whatever it's going to be. It looks like mostly trans blue on top. The way it looks like here on this picture, there are no prints in the set, but it looks like these are all stickers. But nevertheless, I think it's quite a beautiful design. So Funhole in general, I think great designs. We have to look at the brick quality. So Funhole has gone a bit back and forth between BlueBrixx based bricks and let's say cheaper ones in between. So the first set they announced or that they shipped back in the day was BlueBrixx. So a lot of people loved them for this. So you had lighting, you had these amazing pieces and the great Funhole design. Then they had a couple of sets where the pieces did not have the same quality. And now, to my knowledge, they're going back to BlueBrixx. But I do not know what is in this set. But what I can say is that the castle is already on its way on my desk. So I do intend to build it, and then I can also talk about brick quality. So with that, we are coming from Funhole to Lego. There's only one announcement. It's the Marvel Black Panther statue, the 76215, 2,961 pieces for slightly below $350 US. That's L11.8 cents a piece for such a large set. This is quite a price, but quite frankly, after the price around the lighthouse and the new Harry Potter train, I'm not surprised anymore. LEGO is definitely put their foot on the gas when it comes to raising prices. Anyhow, so let's take a look at this one. In general, I think from a size perspective, this is not like one-on-one scale. It's below that. Nevertheless, it is bigger than the let's say sets from the helmet collection. So it's somewhere in between. A lot bigger actually than the helmet collection, but less than a one-on-one scale. But speaking of scale, if I look at it, I think it's quite well done. You almost see zero studs from the front, but there are studs. So I think it's a nice combination. Could they have a few more studs to be shown? I'm not sure. I think it's a nice trade-off that they have done here. You can remove, oh, I'm sorry, I just hit my mic. You can remove the gauntlets, which I think is great. The gauntlets are roughly the same size as the gauntlets that they have done previously from the Marvel Universe. So it's a similar size. However, if you look at this set on the picture that I'm showing right now, from my point of view, the gauntlets are too small. So the scale does not fit to the head, actually, or to the helmet. And I think this is a missed opportunity. I think I don't know. I would have wished that they would have tried to make the helmet smaller so that it all fits together perfectly, that the gauntlets have the same size as the other gauntlets. I think it's great. So it's a good start from there. But then maybe what I would have wished is that they would have made the helmet itself a bit smaller. Anyhow, what you can do in order to solve that problem, you can remove the gauntlets and you can maybe, build it. I'm not sure if there is a stand so that you can put the gauntlets, for instance, next to the other gauntlets that you already have. But I think this is what I would be going for, like the helmet itself on its own, and then use the gauntlets and just put them on a stand. Either build my own, maybe there's one included, I'm not 100% sure. Anyhow, this thing is 46 centimeters in height and 39 centimeters in width. So it's definitely not a small one. And in general, I really do like the design. I would have wished that the price would be a bit lower, maybe something like $300, like $50 less. That would be, would have been preferable. Anyhow, that is already LEGO for this entire week, and we are moving on to Pantasy. And Pantasy has 2 sets announced around a license that they have now, it seems. My Own Swordsman, which is a Chinese film from early 2011. I've actually never seen it. It's a action comedy film. So I can't say much about it. What I can say is, however, that I think they have done a pretty nice set. We are talking about the 86219 first. That's the Tavern Gate. It's slightly below $30 US. I do not have a piece count at this point in time. As always, or not as always, but for Pantasy as well, you can directly order from the Pantasy store. I also have a discount code, 10% actually, Merlin minus Pantasy. As always, everything I'm talking about, links to all these sites and pages I'm currently showing you right now is down in the description below for those of you who watch this on YouTube. For podcast listeners, you will find in the podcast show notes, and there you should also be able to find all the discount codes. So yeah. If you're interested, this could be an interesting one. Personally, I do like the gate. Plus, usually Pantasy, it's all pet printed. So there are usually no stickers included. And they actually have a lot of prints in this one. So that could be actually interesting. So if you're interested in Chinese architecture, traditional Chinese architecture, these sets from Pantasy could be a good combination. You could combine this, of course, with, for instance, the new mod you are building. I think I talked about it last week or maybe the week before from Keyplay. Xingbao has done a ton of sets in this area in the past. And so what you could even do is use some of the prints here and maybe, stretch them out to some of the other sets. So this could be an idea. Obviously, I can't read them, but I do assume they have a certain relationship to the license. So I'm not sure how well you can reuse the prints. But in general, I think it's a bit overburdened with prints. But if you have other sets in the same architecture style, you might be able to combine the sets, etc. and maybe have a better distribution of all the prints. You could also do this with this set, the Tong Fu Tavern. So it's not just the Tavern Gate, but the entire tavern. 86220 is the set. Again, I do not have a piece count, and Pantasy is selling these for $149 US. And yeah, it's a much larger set, obviously. I guess it is slightly bigger as far as I can tell than regular base plate. So it's 28.8 versus 30.4 centimeters. So it's slightly above regular base plate. It also looks like it's not on a base plate, it's on plates actually. And it has a ton of minifigures in it. I'm not sure if you need to know the movie to, like, if all of these minifigures have a strong reference to specific characters in the movie. Again, I haven't seen the movie, not 1% sure, but yeah, there's a ton of these, I guess it's BlueBrixx minifigures in this set as well. With that, we are through with new sets, so let's move on to LEGO Ideas. And here actually we have 51 sets or entries that are now wrapped up in the second round 2022. Let me do a quick recap on the LEGO Ideas program. So the way this works, for those of you who don't know, everybody, any one of us, somebody from the community can enter a set design into the Ideas program. Then you need to collect supporters, and you need 10,000 votes for your design. The moment you have 10,000 votes, you will be in the round, and actually this is the one here. So 51 made it to 10,000 votes, and then the LEGO Ideas team will take a look at it and usually picks around 2 sets per round. So there is a ton of interesting designs. Actually, I have talked about all of them in the German version of the podcast. I will, going forward, talk about all of those in future rounds in this podcast here as well. There are many great designs or have been in this round. Personally, I mean, I've given up on making any predictions on what the LEGO Ideas team is going to do, but there are a couple of great designs in here. In my experience, usually LEGO goes nowadays in the Ideas program either in stuff that has an interesting license, like a TV series or TV show or anything like that, or a very well-known movie. They have also done revivals of old traditions, like for instance what they did with the 21325 with the Ideas Blacksmith, where they kind of picked up Castle again. Obviously, a lot of folks are hoping that they will do this with other very beloved series as well. So this could be something they are going for, or for something special, something that they don't want to do in the Creator series, like the Globe, or the music instruments that they have done in the past. So there are definitely interesting designs in here. I don't know, they have picked up computer game topics as well in the past, but also, for instance, what I'm currently showing, the Great Wave of Kanagawa. I'm not 1% sure if I pronounced that correctly. I'm pretty sure I did not. This could be something they have done stuff like this in the past, like with the jazz quartet. I don't know. There's a ton of interesting stuff in here, and I think many of these entries have a chance for actually becoming a LEGO set. So let's see. However, that was looking back. Now let's look into the future. Into 3 new entries who recently made it into the round of achieving 10,000 supporters. So let's get started with This Is Fine. Obviously, this is a reference to a very well and known meme around this dog sitting in a room in fire. And basically saying, hey, this is fine. I personally do like this. I don't think LEGO has ever done a set on a modern pop culture meme kind of thing. So I'm really curious if LEGO will ever do this, but I would really love it. I'm not sure if this is really a full-blown idea set. For me, this would be rather a gift with purchase or something like that. And I guess you can even make this one smaller and still bring the message across. But I generally do like the idea to have a meme and BlueBrixx from LEGO itself. This would be awesome. Then we have Castle Dracula. Very nice design. I've personally never read the books. I saw a couple of the movie adaptations over the years around this very well-known vampire, but nevertheless, I think this is an awesome design if you look at it just from this perspective. A very detailed, very, I don't know, it just fits the theme so well. I mean, if I look at this, it looks a little bit like horror. It looks like vampire, but at the same time it looks like a very stylish old castle, and this is just great stuff. What I personally do not like so much around this, like, this feels a bit like a Harry Potter set, so it's not a full-blown building. It's basically just a front, and then it's a couple of studs deep, maybe 6 or something, like a typical Harry Potter building, for instance, or a Harry Potter castle. But you can also completely close it in the back. So that's usually, of course, something LEGO doesn't do for a lot of play sets. Again, a lot of in Harry Potter, you just have your 6 stud deep building, and then of course they have other buildings, like a lot of stuff they do in Creator 3-in-1, where you can basically open it up or close it again, and then you have either just the front, and then of course make the set a lot bigger or broader, if you will, or you can close it and then you have a full-blown building, almost like a tiny modular. And here, however, it's just a back wall, and you can open it up, look inside, or of course use it to make the building appear bigger. I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of that. I think I would rather either have just a front, and I think this is what LEGO would do. Either they would just make it a front, or a complete building with everything. But nevertheless, a really nice design, couple of interesting scenes in the inside as well. Great minifigure idea. So yeah, I would love this one actually. What, however, I would love more than anything else is the ancient Roman temple. So this is a minifigure scale Roman temple that has been proposed by HP Brickster. And I really like this idea. Romans is definitely something I would love LEGO to do. I think there's so much amazing stuff that they could do. I mean, yes, they have done recently the Colosseum, but that is more like architecture. I mean, technically it was icons, but for me it was an architecture set. But Romans in minifigure scale, this is really something I would LEGO love to do. Of course, I'm also looking forward to having new Roman minifigures. I mean, we have seen Roman minifigures in the past. I love them all, and this is, I think, an amazing design. Would really love to make for LEGO to make a set in this, and it's minifigure scale, and that means, of course, it's not like a big temple. It's not like a temple, I don't know, the state or very rich people would do, but this is like a regular temple, I guess, that you could find in every Roman city and for the people to go to. And I think, yeah, minifigure scale Romans, what can go wrong? Anyhow, this was the show for today, or for this week. I hope you liked the show. For those of you who watch this on YouTube, please leave a like or a comment, or even better, subscribe to the channel. For you podcast listeners, please leave a review, comment, or like on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the show. Last thing to say is just thanks for listening. See you next week.